Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-mursaleen. Welcome everybody to this session. My name is Ahmed Benraouane, and I will be talking today for about 15 minutes about an interesting topic that should be of interest to all organizational leadership. Particularly, we'll talk about the approach that the global community has been thinking about to address the use of AI and to create the safeguards around this new technology. So what I would like to do today is to talk briefly about the overview of the AI technology itself. I am sure you have had probably enough of that the whole day. You yourself are experts in the field, but it's good to remind ourselves about what is expected from this technology, then talk specifically about the responsible AI. This is a new topic, a new theme, a new immersion theme that has to do a lot with the governance of artificial intelligence, particularly, and the governance of technology in general. Before that, briefly about my background, I am working for Dubai government, and as such, I am an ISO leader, ISO delegate. I have been working in the field of innovation, and we were able to produce a standard, ISO 56002, and now we're working on a new standard, ISO 56001, which will be launched perhaps next year. We're also working on another important topic that relates directly to the conversation that we're having today, which is the ISO 42001. This is going to be, in my view, a game changer with respect to how you can apply artificial intelligence, how you can govern artificial intelligence, and what are the safety and security measures that you need to take. These are some of the publications that I had published in the past. And some of them have been published in the US, and some of them in Europe, and some of them here as well. Let me start with this quote from my last book, the book that I had a chance to co-author with James Harrington, a thought leader in quality and business excellence. You all probably have lived this experience, which has to do with the speed at which technology has been moving, whether we're talking about artificial intelligence, whether we're talking about digital transformation itself, or more recently, we're talking about the generative AI. So those technological breakthroughs are of a paradigm shift. And we are at a tipping point as a global community, as a humanity, and it's critical for us that we pause so we can think and rethink about the safety and security, but more importantly, how we will be using these technologies so we're able to take advantage of them. And these technologies will affect all aspects and all dimensions of life, from education to economy to cybersecurity to national security. All these dimensions will be affected and will be transformed by this technology. This is what AI is expected to have in terms of impact on the global economy. Some of you perhaps have been already working in the field, and you already know about what is expected in terms of added value of the AI. If you look, for instance, at the US, only at the US, which is about $15 trillion economy, if this economy is going to grow at the rate of 35%, that's a huge. And that is an important dimension of this technology because, again, it's adding more value, it's creating more value to the economy. But there is one element that we needed to pay attention to, and this is a survey that comes from KPMG a couple of months ago, which has to do with the speed at which technology and artificial intelligence has been adopted. So if you look at the perception, if you ask leaders about their perception of how adoption has been going on, you will see that the majority of business leaders, the majority of leadership in organizations tend to tell you that it is going too fast. And that's important. When something or when an adoption is going too fast, simply means you don't have enough time to pause you don't have enough time to work ahead of the transformation, and you are not able to put, again, the mechanisms, the governance mechanisms that will allow you to manage, to adopt, and to take advantage of this technology. So adoption is good, but the pace and the speed is not a good thing to have, because again, it does not allow you to mature as an organization or as a technology. But perhaps more importantly is how business leaders think of the role of government and the role of institutions and the role of regulations with respect to artificial intelligence. In my lifetime, this is perhaps the only time where I see business leaders advocating for regulations. If you have been involved with any business community, Chamber of Commerce, or any chamber that advocate for the interest of a specific business community, you always hear them saying, we don't want regulation, we want the government off our back, keep us doing what we are doing, we are good, we will do better if the government is out of the picture. But for AI, it's the opposite. People want the government to be involved. People are looking for guidance. People are looking for regulation. People are looking for the government intervention. So we are able, again, to put the frameworks and the governance tools that will allow for this technology to move and to progress, so everybody is taking advantage of it. You probably have seen this before, but when you have a CEO, a great leader, a great influencer of a great company, an influencing company himself, asking for government guidance and government regulations, that tells you the story about where we are in terms of technology. So when we talk about frameworks for AI, when we talk about the need to come together as government agencies, as international agencies, to put together those frameworks, it's actually for the better of the community and for the better of the technology itself. Personally, I have been involved with all these organizations, particularly with ISO, the third block that you see on my slide. And what we have been doing, we have been trying to create standard and frameworks that allow you as a business leader to do what we call a conformity assessment. There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of frameworks available to people to conduct some sort of assessment, but what is missing now is a third-party assessment that will say, yes, this company's tools and this company's processes are good, and they are a good value or additional value to the assessment of the artificial intelligence. As I said, I have been working for ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, and ISO has been able to produce many standards. I think the most important one, which will be published in a couple of months, we just finished I think in April, we had the last meeting. It was in Berlin, and there was more than 200 experts working on different aspects of AI, getting together so we can publish this standard, so we can help community of businesses and leadership and government and organizations to think maturely about this technology that we call AI. But perhaps the game changer in this armada of standard is the standard that I mentioned in my introduction, ISO IEC 42001, Artificial Intelligence Management System. This is what I do. I advise companies and I advise government institutions on how to put together this framework. And the ISO 42001 will be the first standard, the first official standard that will present the business community, the community of technologists, with a framework that allows them to, again, assess the technology, address the risks, and more importantly, do the impact assessment of this technology. So it's a great thing to have this standard. We still don't have a legal framework that addresses directly artificial intelligence. Of course, the EU AI Act is in the process of being now discussed within different EU instances. There are some other initiatives that have to do with standard, but the ISO standard is the first international global framework that helps companies, organizations, and experts like yourself to address the issue of governance and the issue of ethics and morality, if you will, when we apply business artificial intelligence to business context. So what is this artificial intelligence standard? What are some of the principles that this standard is going to bring? How do you use it? What are the things that will allow you to take advantage of? The ISO 42001 has roughly about 1,000 lines. It has about 10 sections. And it focuses a lot on how you can conduct risk assessment and impact assessment and conformity assessment about the technology itself. Before you launch a technology, you are supposed to run certain impact assessment, and that will allow you to make sure that this technology is free of risk and is safe for people to use. But generally speaking, there are 5 or 6 principles that this standard is advocated. Number 1, explainability, and you as experts, perhaps you know what we mean by explainability. In simple terms, explainability means the ability for a company, the ability for the CEO, the ability for the CIO to explain how the decision or how the AI system came up with that decision. This is a very, very challenging, because as we move into this generative AI thing, as we move into the complexity of AI, it's becoming extremely difficult for management and for companies to explain how their AI systems, how their machine learning systems have came up with this decision. So this is one of the things that perhaps you needed to pay attention to and you need to worry about at the development stage, at the design stage, and then at the deployment stage. And then fairness and non-discrimination. This is very important as we talk about the adverse impact and the disparate, the adverse impact and the impact of this technology on certain communities. It's critical for you that this technology that you are using, whether you're using in HR, you're using in finance, you're using in credit, you're using in banking, does not replicate or reproduce the stereotypes and the discrimination that you have in the real world and in the world of the internet. And then robustness. Robustness, it's simply technical terms that means the ability for a system to perform consistently as it performs over time. So if your software has been performing in certain ways for the last 2 months, then you should expect that this software will again perform in the next 5 years in similar ways. And then transparency. Very important that you share the information and the data and the way your system is coming up with those decisions. This is a critical one because it allows you again to meet certain ethical standard. It allows you again to meet certain legal standard when the world knows how your AI system, how your ML system, how your generative AI system has come up with certain decisions. And then of course, privacy and privacy protection are critical. In your design of the AI system, it's critical that you plug in the privacy tools or the tools that allow you to protect privacy, specifically with respect to certain vulnerable populations like children or the people who cannot protect themselves. So this is a critical element of the AI ecosystem that we are talking about. And then finally, accountability. And accountability simply means that you need to be able to address those questions ahead of the deployment in the design phase and in the thinking phase, in the production phase. When it comes to the production, that you are able to hold your engineers and designers accountable for what they have produced. This is briefly what I wanted to share with you in terms of AI, ethical framework, or responsible AI, the terminology now that we have adopted is responsible AI. And I think you will see perhaps in July 2023, in a couple of months, a new standard hitting the market. This is the ISO AI standard. It's officially called ISO/IEC 42001 Artificial Intelligence Management System. And again, it will be a game changer because everyone would want to meet this standard, would want to meet this specific standard. So everybody will have to do some sort of assessment and needs to be certified as a company or an organization that meets the basics of the artificial intelligence management system. Thank you so much for your attention. Happy to take your questions.